Evening folks, this is BestInSlot and welcome to my model comparison for Jurassic World Evolution. Today we're going to be looking at the basal models for the dinosaurs. No textures, no normal maps, no lighting. These are just the absolute basic models compared between Return to Jurassic Park, the latest DLC, and of course the default Jurassic World Evolution models. The reason we're doing it like that, very relevant to the first dinosaur we're going to look at. I'll just bring it up right now. Actually, before I go any further, I should say, big shout out to Hiplobanoxa, hopefully I've not butchered that this time, for providing me directly with all these images. That was super helpful, really nice thing to do, and basically set the standard for this video, so super big shout out to them. They've also posted all these along with some animated versions over on the subreddit, so you can go check those out. Anywhoozle, so relevant to the first dinosaur. When I did my Rex highlight video the other week, when Return to Jurassic Park first came out, took a look at the model, took a look at the skins, the textures and stuff like that, I said that Jurassic World Evolution's Tyrannosaurus Rex had received a new model in the DLC, pointing out things like the longer looking snout, the deeper set eyes, this ridge here being much more prominent, what looked like a thinner snout at the bottom, maybe a slightly more chunky body, stuff like that. It looked like the model had been changed. Some people agreed, some people didn't. As it turns out, and I have mentioned this previously, if we go ahead and look at the 93 model of the Rex, boop, boop, boop. What you may be noticing here, folks, those of you with eyeballs, if you don't have eyeballs, I apologise, I'll narrate what's going on. The 93 Rex is identical. Out of all the dinosaurs we're going to look at today, out of all the dinosaurs that got a glow up in Return to Jurassic Park, that's right, I'm down with the kids. The Rex is the only one without a single model change, the basal 3D model. Of course, the normal maps changed, the textures changed, all that kind of stuff, but the Rex itself stayed exactly the same in size, in chunkiness, in absolutely everything. Even if you look at this from the other two angles, from the top, from the front, etc., it is identical. The Rex does not change, 100%, okay? Because I mentioned this in the video the other day and we talked about it, and people are still sort of convinced that the Rex does change just because the texture differences and stuff are so vast that it makes it look like a new dinosaur. But we can confirm, no change. Now, that said, the other 6 dinosaurs I believe we're going to take a look at tonight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dinosaurs we're going to take a look at tonight, did in fact receive some model updates. So, let's get started with the Jurassic World Evolution version of the Triceratops. Now, the Triceratops was long my favourite dinosaur, has always been my favourite dinosaur, but I've never really been enamoured with the Jurassic World Evolution variant. Part of that definitely comes down to the skins. It's a very boring dab grey by default. But part of it is definitely due to the model, and it has actually received some fairly significant changes. So if we bring in the 93 model, we can start to highlight what those are. Bam, bam. I'll just do this a couple of times and then we'll start to point stuff out. So, 93 model. First of all, the back is more curved, as you can see. It's kind of less, this is uppy downy for some reason. The osteoderms, these bony plates down the back, they are actually modelled onto the dinosaur rather than added via normal maps. We have a slightly thicker tail, I would say. If you look at the lighting on the tail there, slightly thicker. The legs have been smoothed out a little bit. The main thing around, honestly one of the main things for me that makes this look better is actually around here, around the chest. You can see here there's like a fold on the older version of the Triceratops. This one, oopsie daisy, professional video. This one right here kind of gives it this sort of saggy skin appearance. Of course, a lot of the reason these dinosaurs look so much better is because of new textures and stuff like that. But just removing things like that from the model really do make a fairly big difference. The foot has been brought forward a little bit. The beak has definitely been extended. This is something we're going to see quite a lot, but the beak is much more prominent. I always felt to an extent that Jurassic World was kind of ashamed of the dinosaurs having beaks, as though that was something that the public wouldn't accept, because I don't think people think of dinosaurs as having beaks. You know, of course people watching this video, generally speaking, will do, but I'd say the wider public, the idea of a beak on a dinosaur is actually fairly odd. But they've made it much more prominent now to match the Jurassic Park version. The frontal horn is thicker and points more upwards. Same with these horns here, they point the angle upwards a lot more. The frill has been angled back, and the eye has been brought down and made a little bit bigger, I would say. And also this area over here has been brought up and made smaller. It looks like I'm doing like a nip tuck kind of thing here, highlighting the areas we're going to fix with plastic surgery. But the point is, the 93 model has actually received extensive changes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. At least 11 or 12 or so different areas of this model have been completely redone, to the point where I'm sure it's got the basal skeleton and they've kind of built around that, but I wouldn't be surprised if the original model was essentially scrapped altogether, because yeah, you can see the differences are fairly staggering, and it does make the 93 just a much better looking dinosaur. I never loved Evolution's Triceratops, but the new one, we're talking top 10. A lot of that is because of the new skins. 93B, I think, no, 93D is like one of my favourite skins in the entire game. In this video, we are going to try to avoid looking at the skinned versions of these dinosaurs, the in-game versions of these dinosaurs, because we've seen in the past that, you know, angles and lighting and stuff like that can really influence whether a dinosaur looks remodeled. I really want to keep this as objective as possible. So, moving on then. And take a look at the Ankylosaurus. Now, we're doing both on this one because I think it's important for the Anky to have this top-down view to really get a good look at everything. So that's the Jurassic World Evolution variant. And we're going to look at the 2001 Jurassic Park 3 variant. So definitely not as prominent in the changes, I would say, as the Triceratops. Definitely less over the top. But there are some here, so let's point them out. The tail has been thinned at the end, as you can see. Including the spikes themselves have been brought down. The club as well is, I mean, we'll focus on it down here really. The club has essentially an entirely different shape and it's a lot thinner at the end of the tail. The thing, you know what, I don't know what the official term would be. The bony spikes, we'll say, coming out of the, I was about to say shell, coming out of the back plates. They're pointing forward now at the front of the dinosaur, like in the Jurassic World Evolution variant. You can see they all kind of curve in that direction, but if you go back, oopsie, lemony cheeses, if you go back to this version, they start to curve up that way a little bit. It makes it a little bit more organic looking, a little bit more aggressive looking, I would say. What else have we got? Little changes over here. I don't really know why. I think it's just less depth on those plates at the back. The head has changed a little bit, so the back of the skull now points more aggressively outwards, and the spikes on the skull here, and you can see them here as well, are more prominent on this version, although I've just covered those up. And that is about it. I wouldn't say it's a massive remodel for the... it's one of those remodels where I'm kind of surprised they did it at all. I think the main thing... I think if they'd just done the club, people would appreciate that because it looks a lot more like the JP3 Anky. People would appreciate that little added detail. I'm not sure the rest was as important necessarily. I think for the Ankylosaurus, the main improvement really does come from the textures and the skins, because the classic Ankylosaurus has this big problem where there's a lack of variation and the skin and the backplating is always very similar in terms of colours, whereas the JP3 Anky kind of got rid of that altogether. It's got some really nice skins to look at. So, yeah, good stuff. Moving on, we're going to take a look at the Stegosaurus. So, this is our Jurassic World Evolution variant. And if we click up here, 97 variant. Again, not as big. Honestly, the Triceratops has, along with the last dinosaur we're going to look at, I'd say the Triceratops has received by far the most changes, interestingly enough. But we do have some changes here. The Thagomizer at the end actually remains exactly the same. We've got some changes in the spikes. Really, it's been chunkified more than anything else. So if we go up here, you can see a couple of these have been sort of pushed further forward, like more towards the red. You can see them, well, this one and this one in particular, coming a little bit further out. They've been thickened as well. You can see here and here, if you just look at the difference by those red marks. The plates have just been thickened and chunkified a little bit. Same with a lot of the body. If you look particularly around this thigh area here, and also here, you can see the thighs expanding, getting bigger. Same with the body. A little bit, this bit here, just look above that red line. Boop, boop, boop. It kind of, everything's just a little bit chubbier, basically, which is kind of what we like to see in our dinosaurs. And little things like the legs are a little bit fatter as well. It's just little details that I really appreciate. Those thighs are monstrous. The head is actually one of the larger changes. I should have done this separately. You can see here the snout has been sort of flattened just a little bit. The beak is definitely more prominent. I know I accept that's probably hard to see on your screens right now. And the head has been just made a little bit smaller in general, I would say, and tightened up a little bit, whereas there's a little bit chunky there. That's been tightened up and pushed forward. And also the neck has been thickened as well, as you can see right there. So it's just been made a little bit chunkier. The Stego is again one of those dinosaurs that really benefited from the changed skins more so than changed models. The new normal maps. I'm going to say normal maps a lot in this video. I'm not addicted to normal maps, but the one thing, the bigger change than any of the models, even the All of the models except the Velociraptor, even the Triceratops, I think just giving them the new normal maps was such a monumental increase. I hope it's something they're going to consider doing for some of the older dinosaurs that didn't make it into this DLC, because it changes so much in terms of like how the body is perceived and how the skin, how realistic the skin is and how prominent the beaks are and stuff like that. Now, moving on, we're going to look at one of the cooler ones in the collection. So this is the Jurassic World Evolution Brachiosaurus. This is the 93 Brachiosaurus. You can see most of the changes there are in the head. We will have a zoom in of the head in a moment, because you really do need to get in close to see these, but you can see some differences there, but you can see how the body doesn't actually change at all. If we compare Jurassic World Evolution to Jurassic Park 3, however, bajonk. Now, there's massive changes in the head, in the neck, but the body is the main thing. Of all the dinosaurs to get chunkified, the Jurassic Park 3 Brachiosaurus is the most chunkified. So we'll just do a little body comparison, and then we'll zoom in on the head for the rest of this part. We can ignore the 93 variant for now. So the neck does get slightly thicker, I think. Yep, definitely does. There as well, definitely increases a little bit. But really the main thing, I mean, I don't need to highlight this, but this is the bit you should really be looking at. It is a much thicker dinosaur. Interestingly enough, the bottom of the knees, if you just look, if I learn how to draw now, if you just look at the legs, they don't actually change up to about, there's a tiny change there, but beyond that point they don't change much. If you just look behind there, you can see there's some very slight differences, but very, very slight. It's above there where everything happens. The thighs are much, much thicker on this model. They kind of blend into the dinosaur a little bit less. You'll see here the frontal thigh, that's like a fancy way of saying the thigh on his front leg, like here, it kind of sticks out from the body. It's more, you can see here there's like a very clear shadow there between the thigh and the front of the chest, which is much more prominent now. Whereas if we go back to the Jurassic World Evolution variant, you can see it kind of just blends in one smooth motion, whereas this one is very bump, but it's more boxy, more chesty. Makes it a little bit more imposing, and I'm really sorry, people are going bloody mental outside. I usually try to record my videos like 7 AM to avoid this, but unfortunately it's 10 AM, all the kids are out, it's tourist hour, so yeah. The back, of course, has come up massively as well, as you can see. This little weird ridge down here has been removed, that bit there, if you look there, boop. And the tail is like 5 times thicker as well. That is a chunky tail. I'm going to say chunky. Chunky in normal maps, that's my favourite words. Not only is it chunky, but it no longer goes in that direction. It now points straight downwards towards the ground. Again, just like Jurassic Park 3. So, we're going to move on from that. Let's bring up this image right here. I should actually bring up an image. Boo, there you go. Apologies for the quality. We're zooming in quite a lot to make this happen. Here you can see the difference between Jurassic World Evolution and 93 a little bit more prominently. It's worth noting that the dinosaurs in Jurassic World Evolution are based on the dinosaurs in Jurassic World, of course, and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. The Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom Brachiosaurus is meant to be the Brachiosaurus from Jurassic Park 1993, so in theory they should be fairly similar. There really shouldn't be any monumental differences. There's a couple of changes here. The neck has been brought out further on our new 1993 variant, and I think the back of the neck is maybe a little bit more pushed out, and maybe that's a little bit pushed further forward, but really it's small differences. I'd say the eye, sorry, like I'm losing myself a little bit here. The eyes, for example, hopefully you can see that. Maybe if that kind of helps a little bit. That's quite cool, actually. I think they're a little bit deeper, like the ridges are a little bit more prominent and stuff like that. But again, really the main differences we're going to see, although they are there between Jurassic World Evolution and 93 for sure, is 2001 Jurassic Park 3. It just looks like a completely different dinosaur. The snout is a different shape, it's lower down, it points down a little bit more. The crest isn't this big up forward one, it's sleek and points straight backwards. The eyes are smaller and brought in. Everything's kind of got this smooth curviness kind of look to it. The neck in particular is this there, and it's kind of more separated. We've got this very distinct sort of skin flap going on, which again was one of the bigger differences between 93 and Jurassic World Evolution. I actually love the 2001 Brachiosaurus, not necessarily the default skin, which I still think is moderately ugly, I'm afraid, but the model and the some of the alternate skins are actually really, really cool. I just think it's awesome that they did this. I honestly think they could have got away without doing this. I think they could have brought in the 93 model with its small differences and then retextured it to look more like the Jurassic Park 2001 one. People may have been a little disappointed, but I don't think it would have been a big deal necessarily. I don't know why I said A like that, but I don't think it would have been a big deal. It's a nice little extra level of detail going on here. Like even the teeth at the top of the mouth, not present there, but there they are. Bam. Big chunky. Jurassic Park 3's Brachiosaurus is terrifying. Anyways, the final dinosaur on the list, and possibly the biggest beneficiary of the glow up, shall we say. Competing with the Triceratops for me, personally. But I think the Velociraptor does win the day. Here it is. So that's our Jurassic World Evolution variant, and this is the Jurassic Park 93 variant. Now, we will again do a head comparison in a little bit, so I want to ignore the head for now and focus on the rest of the body. And there really aren't monumental changes here. The tail has been made a little bit longer, as you can see. The sort of the back of the booty has been brought down a little bit, and there's a little weird change here at the thigh. In terms of the actual body, some small changes there as well. That's about it. There really isn't much going on here. The actual body shape and size and how it's come together. Oh, there's a little bit there at the feet as well. Again, I don't really know what, but it's kind of brought in just a little bit more at the ankles. Generally speaking, the body looks a lot better because of normal maps, because of the textures, blah, 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 blah. The head is the main beneficiary of this, but we'll look at that in a moment. If we compare Jurassic World Evolution instead to the 01 variant, this is the Jurassic Park 3 variant, again, we see basically the same thing. The tail is a little bit longer, and to the point where we should probably compare this instead with the 93 variant, and you can see here they are basically identical. The only difference that I can see is really the tail again. The tail is very slightly longer in the 01 variant, in the 93 variant I should say. It's been brought in just a little bit here in the 93 variant, but very, very slight. Again, with the Raptor, most of the changes are in the head. And of course the 01, that's the 01 female, this is the 01 male, so we do have some quills on that head as well. Not allowed to talk about that yet. So, I should say, before I move on, the 93 Raptor and the 97 Raptor, I should have included the comparison, but trust me, I guess, hopefully, the 93 Raptor and the 97 Raptor are identical in every single way. I couldn't see a single difference in anywhere on the model whatsoever, so they've just been textured differently, blah, 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 but the actual model, the basal model, like the Rex, is identical from Jurassic Park and the Lost World. Right, moving on then, the final image. So we have Jurassic World Evolution, we have Jurassic Park 1993, and we have the 01 Raptors. And apologies for the low quality, these were the smallest images of the bunch. Raptors have small heads, seemingly. I had to blow them up quite a lot. But this is where we really can see some of the difference. Again, it's funny that the differences are so small between Jurassic World Evolution and Jurassic Park 93, although I will say the low quality image is not helping us out here. But those differences come together in a really good way. So you can see here, for one, I think the main difference, honestly, is the shape of the mouth. That is very square there. Look at that, bam. And then it kind of goes like that, right? Whereas this one is... Okay, I exaggerated that a little bit. But you see, I mean, I don't need to exaggerate to point this out, do I, really? It's very clear... They look like Joker Raptors. It's very clear more... I'd say it makes it look more aggressive, kind of curviness again to the 93 Raptor, and that's something we've pointed out quite a lot during this video. The eyes have been flattened a little bit. It's more like a elongated, okay, it doesn't look like that, but it's more flat, doesn't look like that, it's more flat than the Jurassic World Evolution variant. The snout has been pushed upwards, you can see here, this one points further down, that one's more pointing that way. You can't really see it here, but the nostrils I think have been elongated on the 93 version. And this little bit, I cannot remember the official name, but that kind of layer of skin towards the back of the mouth between the mouth opening, can't remember what it's called, but that's bigger and more prominent on the 93 Raptor. It is really small changes that come together to make something different. That is not the case for the 2001 Raptor, and this may be why that this guy down here, the male version, is my favourite dinosaur possibly in the entire game at this point in time. Even ignoring the quills, the basal model has changed quite a lot even from the 93 variant. So you see here, I mean, mainly the skull shape. So the top jaw, well, the top of the mouth, this bit, The top mouth bitey bit is thinner on this one than the 93 and Jurassic World Evolution variant. It also points out more. Again, these are very aggressive dinosaurs. The skull comes up much more prominently there, and then also down here. The skull is, generally speaking, the ridges are a lot more pronounced. You can see here there's just a little bit of shade in there and there. It really accentuates all the different shapes of the skull. The kind of curve in the bottom of the mouth is even more pronounced in the 2001 variant, although skin flap has been reduced a little bit, I would say. The teeth look identical. I'd say the neck and stuff is pretty identical as well. All that combined with the new colours, combined with the new textures, combined with, yes, the new normal maps, makes these dinosaurs look demonstrably different. The thing is, it's interesting that it doesn't require that much in terms of model changes to make these dinosaurs look so different. The Rex is a really good advocate for that. It's like the little things like that little bit there, and the antorbital, cannot remember what the rest of that term is, antorbital something, make it look like a new model because they're much more pronounced, much more easy to see. The new textures and normal maps have highlighted these things that were always there but not that visible. It's just interesting how little a model has to change for a big difference. I mean, the trike is fairly phenomenally different, but things like the Stegosaurus, I love the new Stegosaurus. I'm not a massive fan of the old one, and really the basal model just hasn't changed that much at all. I think if you applied the textures and the normal maps, etc., to the older basal Jurassic World Evolution models, people would, generally speaking, have been moderately happy. The Jurassic Park 3 Brachiosaurus and the Jurassic Park 3 Velociraptor definitely required a new model because some of those features are more prominent than you'd get away with via texturing and stuff. But generally speaking, I think the Anky, the Stegosaurus, the Triceratops even, other than maybe the Osteoderms, and the T-Rex, as they have done, you could get away with it. So the fact that they've done any remodeling is pretty cool. I think so, anyway. Okay, right, yeah, so comparison done. We are finished. Go away. No, thank you so much for joining me. Big shout out again to Hiplopanoxa. I really hope that's how you say it, for providing these models in the first place. I wish I could have done this on a more scientific level, I guess, but at the end of the day, I just want to showcase the differences, and we can point out exactly where these models have improved and changed over time. I'm sure people will have their favourites in the bunch. For me, probably still the Jurassic Park 3 Raptor, but you know what? Triceratops is climbing up that list. Jurassic Park 3 Brachiosaurus is climbing up that list. It's getting a little tight at the top. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you lovely folks next time. Cheers, much as always. Bye-bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.